Good morning, everybody. So I made vanilla wacky cake, which I've never made before, and it has cream cheese frosting on top, and it gets its name. The recipe comes from the Great Depression, and the reason it's called wacky cake is because it has no eggs, milk, butter, nothing you would usually put in cake, because back in the Great Depression, they had a hard time finding dairy products or it was too expensive. So someone came up with this recipe and they decided it was, wacky cake. So it calls for a third cup of vegetable oil, plus more to obviously grease the pan. 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, a cup of sugar, a teaspoon of baking soda, kosher salt, 2 tablespoons of white vinegar, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and then of course, I prefer cream cheese frosting. I love cream cheese frosting, so that's the frosting that I use for this, but you can use whatever frosting you like. But it was super easy, so 8x8 pan, and you pretty much you put everything in the pan. You don't need a bowl or anything. You sift everything into this pan, mix it all together, and that's it. So it was very easy. And you just let it bake for 35 minutes, and then you can cut it into squares. And then for the frosting, it calls for unsalted butter, 4 ounces, 4 ounces of cream cheese softened, both softened. This one calls for 2 cups of powdered sugar. I personally don't like my frosting super sugary, so I tend to just start with 1 cup and add as I go because I just don't like it overly sweet. And then a teaspoon of vanilla extract, and you put it into your KitchenAid or hand mixer, beat that up, and you have your frosting.
Okay, before we start, I have to share this before I get into my recipes because I was at my mother-in-law's. Does anybody recognize? You talk retro, the Jell-O mold, and change the bottoms, that they have all the pretty little shapes and whatever. So it was funny when it was last fall when we were, thinking themes, and I found this. She's like, oh, I forgot I had this. So I'm like, I have to bring it to show and tell for retro cooking. So I just thought that was something kind of fun. So we all know, if you've been here before, I do easy. So make no mistake, I don't do anything too difficult. So I was kind of looking, what could we do? And I was going through, like I said, last fall I was looking through my mother-in-law's recipes and looking for things. And Jell-O was a big, that would be a good one. But I'm like, everybody knows Jell-O. So I finally found something. It was chicken Devon, which was popular. It became popular in the 1940s. And it became popular. It became an award, like signature dish at a Parisian restaurant in the New York City Chatham Hotel. The chef there made it, and that's kind of where this all came from. Now, I am not making the regular chicken Devon. I found a recipe for dump and bake chicken Devon. So as you all know, because that goes with my theme. So that's what you'll find. It is on page 7 in your book. So again, I don't do difficult. So you can see this one is very simple. It calls for diced chicken. My easiest go-to, rotisserie chicken, and that's what these are made from. I had Hannah buy a rotisserie chicken. You can obviously cook chicken breasts or any part of the chicken and use that. For this one, I did, like I said, a rotisserie chicken, just pulled it apart. So I have 2 actually cooking right now because I just wanted to make sure we had enough for everybody. So I use 1 rotisserie chicken for each 9x13 casserole dish that I have. And then it calls for frozen broccoli, 24 ounces. I used frozen broccoli, and then I also had a head of broccoli that I cut apart and just steamed and threw that in as well. So it's a mixture of both. That's your base. So you take your pan, your 9x13 baking dish. I sprayed it, put the chicken, put the broccoli in, and then it's a mixture. What goes next is cream of chicken soup, a quarter cup of wine, white wine, and some lemon juice, and a half a cup of mayonnaise. Mix that all together, put that over the top of it, sprinkle cheese on the top, and then take some melted butter and mix in with some breadcrumbs and top that off. And so that will be your dump and bake chicken Devon. So that is what is cooking right now. And probably the thing that took me the longest was deboning the chicken. Just pulling the chicken apart, because it's just making sure you get all the meat off there and getting all the yucky stuff out. So my nice terminology, the yucky stuff. So that, and then you just bake it 350 for 25, 30 minutes, and that's what it is doing now. The other one is another very simple recipe, is ambrosia salad. Again, and this does, I remember something like this growing up, because it's not, and I'm sure everybody has some sort of different version of different things, but the one I found, cans of mandarin oranges, chunks of pineapple, canned pineapple, but you drain them all. Then coconut, marshmallows, and sour cream. Again, here you go. So it looks really pretty. So it's just, a nice, light, fluffy, something, easy, doesn't have to be made ahead of time. The longer that it sits, I think the, kind of the flavors will all meld together. So I threw it together last night after dinner, and it will be ready for you when we are all done up here. So, I do nothing hard. That's my signature piece. So there you go.
I did a couple of searches trying to find, retro recipe, because a lot of stuff I make, either I've designed or I use reputable sources I know will work. So one of the sites I found, actually I believe it was All Recipes, they had a section for the top, we'll say 50 retro recipes. So I'm scanning through a thing, I actually ran into Alyssa's Wacky Cake. I don't know if that's the recipe she used, but they had something like that in there, and I remember putting the soda and all that stuff in, and you got cake. So I keep going, and I've ran into this thing called, put your seatbelt on. I've changed the name in the book. It was called funeral potatoes. And I went, what? I said, okay, I got to try this. So I went to the cooking school of Suzanne, got all the stuff, dumped it in the bowl. I couldn't believe this. I was like, wow, this is really easy. So
I've been telling you for
I know, yeah, Suzanne's been, in my ear, and she's a good friend. She says, don't stop doing all that stuff. So I doubled the recipe to make sure we had enough to go around. So it's basically cream of chicken soup, 1 pint of sour cream. You use sour cream in your thing, right?
in the ambrosia salad.
Yeah, so we're going to have lots of sour cream today. Grated cheddar cheese, dehydrated onion flakes, so we got the little minced, dehydrated, okay. And hash browns and potato chips. I went, oh boy, okay. So what's nice about this, you don't even really have to measure. Even when we doubled it, for example, I didn't realize it, but Campbell's, they make cream of chicken soup in a family size can, which is like 21, 22 ounces, which is 2 of those other little guys, right? So I thought, that's cool. Open that up, put it in the bowl. Sour cream, put it in the bowl. Cheddar cheese, now it calls for 1.5 cups. So since I'm doubling it, it's 3 cups, but the bag was 4 cups. What am I going to do with it? The dehydrated onion flake. All right, 1 cup of that, because again, I doubled it, so it's only half. So for the hash browns, we ended up using a 5-pound bag of shredded hash browns, because we doubled it. And then the potato chips, we just went all crazy. Put the potatoes in a Ziploc bag, and if you had a bad day, just go nuts on it. I like stuff that's make ahead these days, just because everything's getting real busy this lately. So I made this actually ahead of time, which you can do. When you take it out of the fridge, it's going to be like concrete. Okay? So I put it in the pans, put it in the fridge, I would definitely put some saran on it. So Alyssa and I were getting ready and I pulled the saran wrap off. Oh boy, it was like coming from the dead, smelling those onions, because they're in there working, let me tell you. Even now, I don't know if you guys can smell it now, but it'll be fine. So the other thing is leave this out. I left this out for about an hour to get the chill off because I don't want to take something directly out of the refrigerator and stick it into the hot box because the pan may go, psh, right? We don't want that. It is Pyrex. They say, I'm from Corning area of New York, so, you know, way to go Corningware and everything. I still don't trust it. So just get the chill off for a little bit and then we'll throw it in there. Since it was cold, I did give it an hour to cook instead of 45 minutes. How do you know when it's done? You guys know I like my trusty thermometer. It just was about 170, so I said that's over 165. The only thing and everything basically in here is cooked. Oh, the ham. On my recipe, you'll notice it says diced ham. There's no quantity there because I had no idea what size packages they had in the store. So when they went to go get the groceries for us and brought it back, I'm going through the bags. There was a pound of diced ham from Smithfield. Perfect. That's 8 ounces a dish. So if you want to use that, I thought this almost sounds like a loaded baked potato if you swap the ham out and put bacon in. You all know how to cook bacon real easy, right? Anybody tried the oven? If you haven't, 420 minutes, done. That's what I do for the bacon. Just line your pan with heavy duty foil, then at the end of it, you just throw it all in the garbage. It's lovely. So if you have a lot of people over, that's the way you could. So you may want to try putting bacon in this and see if that would help. Or if you're a vegetarian, maybe just scrap the meat and just go for that. So.